One of Edmonton's biggest names in hockey is looking to make his mark off the ice.
The Oilers' Leon Draisaitl is opening his wallet in an effort to give back to the community.
With the start of the 2024 NHL season underway, discussions have already begun on which teams are contenders for the Stanley Cup. And to no surprise, last season's finalists, the Edmonton Oilers, are among them. However, following a challenging start to the season, it appears the Oilers have their work cut out for them. Presently, the Oilers are in the midst of a title drought that has somewhat really lasted for over 3 decades. The Oilers have been in search of that elusive 6th Stanley Cup for 34 long years now, with the last time they lifted the cup being in 1990. Literally unstoppable, the last cup-winning team from Edmonton was filled with superstars such as Gretzky, Messier, Kurri, and Coffey, who bossed the NHL round and literally redefined what it is to be a championship team. Those were the golden years of the Oilers, when championships were expected rather than just hoped for. The 2024 Stanley Cup Finals was supposed to be the signal of the re-emergence of the Oilers of the 90s, but today, that feeling of certainty is long gone. The Oilers, despite being led by 2 players who could be considered the most electrifying of their generation, have consistently come up short in the playoffs most recently, losing to the Florida Panthers in Game 7 of the 2024 Stanley Cup Finals. I know Oilers fans are still hurting from this, but before we dive into the details, I'd like to ask for a small favor. If you enjoy this hockey content, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps our team in a big way. Thank you so much. Now back to the Oilers. In the core of its current team are Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, 2 of the best talents the league has ever seen. Time after time over the years, these 2 have shown just how good they are when they light up the scoreboards and make their names permanent fixtures at the top of the league's leaderboards. But the Oilers seem to have a problem with the postseason, as whenever the stakes of the game get higher and the lights shine brightest, they always seem to hit a wall. The frustration has been mounting for years, as fans know their team has the firepower, but the finishing touch not so much. As the 2024-2025 season start shows, the question remains at the forefront of every Oiler fan's mind is whether this is finally the year they can channel regular season brilliance into playoff glory. But before we dive into how the Oilers got here, let's take a quick step back to the summer of 2024. The offseason was full of critical decisions that would define this upcoming campaign. But no move was more important than the Oilers' decision to sign the services of one of their most important players. And so, in the move that sent shockwaves through the league, the Oilers signed Draisaitl to an 8-year, $14 million per year extension. It was a staggering figure, but no one doubted its necessity. At 28 years old, Draisaitl is just entering the prime of his career. Year after year, he has proven himself to not only be an elite scorer, but also one of the best playmakers and clutch performers in the league. His playoff performances, especially over the past couple of years, were outstanding, even if the team didn't go all the way. Although Draisaitl's extension was a no-brainer, it has shown just how much pressure the Oilers are under to produce a championship team. With McDavid, Draisaitl, and a host of young talent, the clock is ticking for Edmonton to build a true contender. By securing Draisaitl for the future, they've made sure the team's aspirations for a championship won't come at the cost of their long-term success. But signing just Draisaitl alone is not enough. If Edmonton wanted to become true Stanley Cup contenders, they would need to address some of the rooster problems that have haunted them in recent years. If there is one thing that's held Edmonton back during their playoff runs, it's their leaky defense. For years, the high-flying offense of the Oilers have masked one glaring problem. They just couldn't seem to keep the puck out of their own net. Even with McDavid and Draisaitl running video game stats, at times their defense can at best be described as mediocre. And this had been the Oilers' undoing one time too many. So during the summer, the Oilers understood the assignment. If they were finally going to break through, they would have to tighten things up on the blue line. That's where Mattias Ekholm comes in. Ekholm was a stabilizing presence on the back end that they had acquired at the trade deadline the previous season. Immediate was the impact. A playoff-experienced veteran, Ekholm brought exactly what the Oilers needed: defensive awareness, leadership, and an ability to move the puck out of their zone quickly and efficiently. A 3-year extension for him was one of the first moves the Oilers made in summer 2024, and a crucial one it will be. Ekholm wasn't just a stopgap. He is the leader of the defense that Edmonton will rely on in the most critical moments of the postseason. But it wasn't just the veterans the Oilers are focusing on. The Oilers also focused on youth, as one of the most significant moves was trading defenseman Cody Ceci and a third-round draft pick to San Jose in exchange for Ty Emberson. This indeed is a change in approach for Edmonton, who have drafted younger, more agile defensemen that can move and contribute in all areas of the ice. Emberson may not be the first name that comes to mind when trying to plug a leaky defense, but he is a player viewed as someone who can develop into a reliable top-four defenseman, especially under the mentorship of Ekholm. Throw in the likes of Darnell Nurse and Evan Bouchard, and suddenly the Oilers' defense doesn't look like the huge liability it's been. For the first time in years, they will have a combination of experience and youth that will balance things out right. But that isn't the only problem the Oilers are facing. Another big problem has been the lack of secondary scoring that's haunted them during recent playoffs. Sure, McDavid and Draisaitl could just carry that load, but no team wins the Stanley Cup without depth. It's here the Oilers understand that finding consistent contributors beyond their top two stars would be the key to breaking through. So this offseason, the Oilers addressed that issue by acquiring Vasily Podkolzin from the Vancouver Canucks and signing Mike Hoffman to a professional tryout contract. Podkolzin, a young forward known for his tenacity and two-way play, could really take off in Edmonton's system playing with elite playmakers. If he can find his scoring touch with the Oilers, he may be that key addition the team needs in a middle six capacity. As for Hoffman, the veteran winger is somewhat of a wild card because he has been inconsistent over recent years. But his ability of bringing a spark offensively, mainly on the power play, is the reason the Oilers brought him aboard. If Hoffman proves himself on the tryout, he could add such valuable depth scoring at a low cost, something the Oilers desperately need. But there isn't a bigger question mark for Edmonton going into 2025 than the one in goaltending. Although Stuart Skinner had flashed brilliance during the season of 2023-24, his playoff performance did leave some room for doubt. The Oilers also have the veteran Calvin Pickard, whom they signed to a 2-year deal, but at this stage in his career, he's more of a backup option. But if the Oilers are serious about a cup run in 2025, they'll very likely have to look at other goaltending options before the trade deadline. If Skinner can take the next step in his development, he could be the answer Edmonton has been searching for. But of course, any talk about the Oilers' Stanley Cup chances begins and ends with Connor McDavid. Arguably the best player in the world, McDavid has been nothing short of extraordinary, carrying the Oilers on his back year after year. But hockey's a team game, and as good as McDavid is on the ice, he really can't win a cup by himself. The Oilers have made it very clear that their mission is to give McDavid the supporting cast he needs. The Draisaitl extension was one piece of that puzzle, but so too is the development of younger players like Dylan Holloway and Matthew Savoy, both of whom are going to be crucial for the Oilers' success in the coming years. And so, the stage is set. McDavid and Draisaitl remain in their primes, both locked up for the long haul, ready to carry the Oilers on their shoulders. The defense is stronger, deeper, and more experienced. Secondary scoring has seen much-needed depth, and the goaltending situation, though uncertain in nature, does finally possess some semblance of stability and veteran leadership. The question now is, have the Edmonton Oilers done enough this offseason to be true Stanley Cup contenders in 2025? The answer is cautiously optimistic. The Draisaitl extension sets the core in Edmonton for many years to come. The additions of Podkolzin and Emberson will give them much-needed depth. There are still plenty of questions on defense and in between the sticks, however, that will no doubt be addressed over the course of the year. So, all things considered, the Oilers should be in the mix for the playoffs, but much will depend on whether these offseason moves can bring consistent success on the ice. When that happens, with McDavid and Draisaitl still at these elite levels of play, perhaps this team will be on its way to ending that Stanley Cup drought. These offseason moves have been made to address the most pressing issues facing Edmonton, as it has formed a roster that's more than just 2 stars. They now have a deep squad with a realistic chance of a long playoff run that makes one wonder, will Edmonton show up when it matters the most? The window is open, the pieces are in place, and for the first time in over 30 years, the Edmonton Oilers have a real chance to bring the Stanley Cup back to where it rightfully belongs. What's your take? Have the Oilers made all the right moves? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and be sure not to miss a future update by hitting that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.